as a whole to the further they are from reality, and that it is simply a separation of people from, and I think that there are tons and tons of side effects when you start making people believe things that aren't true. I think that the more people grow up believing bullshit, the less they're able to recognize reality when it happens. I think that conspiracy theories are the reason people trust Trump. I think it relates back to it. I think it makes people dumber and more dangerously gullible.
Is this our 1 or 2, just for uploading purposes? Like this segment, should I view this segment as our 1 or
yes,
2?
our 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will be the first one that comes out because we'll talk more about news stuff today.
Okay.
Which I like doing that. I like doing a less news one for the one that comes 2 weeks later.
Okay.
But yeah, let's do that.
But
Welcome to.
I have to say. Okay. I won't say anything.
This is a new day, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, hello. Okay. I'm sober.
It's a new week.
I'm fine.
This is next week.
It's a week in advance. It's good that we didn't talk about topical shit then. Yeah. I mean, news-based shit. I also really like being able to whisper and everyone to hear me.
Let's do the whole episode this way.
Honestly, I think. Oh, have you guys heard of that YouTube fetish? There's a whole genre where people whisper and then do like weird sound stuff.
Yeah.
With soundscape.
It's called, it's got initials for it. It's
very sexual.
yeah.
But teens do it, so you're not allowed to jerk off to it. I've never heard of it. It's
We could send it
very
around.
sexy. I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
I'm in a commercial where I'm
problem.
in a bubble wrap suit, and some of the comments are like, "This feels like a blah 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 video," and I'm like, "What?" And I googled it. And I was like, "Holy shit!"
Oh my.
I did an ASMR podcast where
ASMR,
they
that's it.
wanted to talk. Where they still wanted me to talk about politics, but they wanted me to do it only as. Yeah, I had to whisper
Honestly,
all my opinions about Trump.
do that
Yeah.
if I didn't think that the weirdest people who listen to this might attack me sexually after I was done.
You don't just have to whisper either. It also works anytime you're talking as though you're
slow. Can I
very close to someone. It works that way too.
Am I good right now?
I'm just gonna rub my beard.
Everyone, shut up. Yes.
Wow, that felt abusive.
Right?
We have to get closer.
All right.
Okay, let's rock and roll. So I'll start the music in about 10 seconds.
Yeah. See, it's soothing.
It's like any weird sounds like.
Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Join Dave Cyrus and Marissa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey, welcome to Blamestorming. I'm your host, Dave Cyrus. The other host with me, as always, is Marissa Smith.
I am here.
And we have 2 guests today. We have Elon Altman. Say hello, Elon.
How you guys doing?
And a very drunk Beth Maria. How are you?
You know, semi-sober.
No, you're not.
She's not drunk. I've seen Beth drunk. This is not
This
drunk
is
Beth at all.
functioning. This is
Yeah.
This is the in
I'm
the
not a
This
cop.
is Wednesday.
Look, I'm not a cop. You don't have to tell me how drunk you usually get compared to this.
No, Beth and I have hung out and had some rough nights together, and neither one of us is anywhere near drunk Beth or
But
drunk
we will
Marissa.
be after this.
The fact that
podcast.
you've been substantially drunker doesn't make you sober now. Anyway,
it
Wow.
doesn't
This beer is
make-
6.7% alcohol.
That is,
There-
these are
Wow.
these beers are
Comparative
actually
theory.
kind of
wow.
high up there. And
You don't even drink beer.
yeah, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I'm not the one drinking. I'm not the one accused of being drunk. It's okay. I want people to enjoy themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
This
See,
is
everyone?
the last show
You
of the
see
year,
everybody?
you guys.
Can you tell as much as I can now? Anyway, we were talking about
Wow.
the theme, why it's British. Marissa actually hired that person.
The theme song.
Hired that guy Nigel to.
His
tape.
name is not Nigel. We do not know his name. Dave has decided
you
his
heard his-
name is Nigel.
You heard his voice.
His
I-
penis.
I feel like he's being a little bit
I don't
racist with
know.
that because
Definitely
he thinks all
racist.
black. I feel
definitely
like you think
racist.
all black English people are named Nigel.
Was
I
that a
think
black
that's-
English guy's voice?
Wow, I didn't hear black English, but I did
He
hear.
always
I actually
comments on it.
No, I specifically what I would say is if that's true, and you're connecting it to black origin English, then I would say it is
He
racist
is.
because what I heard when I heard that triggering accent was a pink penis, which,
Mm.
by the way, I've heard of but have never seen.
All
Okay.
right, yeah.
Now, when you mean in real life or like
In real
pictures?
life, I've never seen it.
Who has pink?
Apparently, very, very white people.
Oh, like ginger guys, like redhead
I
guys.
don't know.
No,
I
gingers
don't know.
necessarily have pink penises.
It's just very white. It's like Irish, Swedish, I guess, English descent.
Swedes.
And I guess the
Swedes.
white people that I have been with tend to be from like the Mediterranean, more
yeah,
of immigrant.
Mediterranean.
Yeah.
I just assume that when you have sex, you always blindfold yourself, so you've never seen a pink penis.
What kind of penis you got on you, Elon?
I'd say it's pinkish in hue. I think it's
Oh, really?
similar to skin tone.
This is what I always
You are
imagined,
pinkish.
and then
Yeah.
I was brought into a space where I was like, oh, what? I just always thought it was whatever is on your arm, plus 3 shades darker into darkness, into brownness on the penis, and that's just the only penises I've ever seen. It's just like whatever your skin is plus browner for the dick, and the idea that there are magenta penises out there is it takes over my brain. I never heard of it.
I
Elon
think
looks
they're
like
more
his
rose colored.
You look like your penis is a CPA.
Yeah, give me
I
that
mean-
W-9.
I've seen albino penises, and they're not darker than their arm.
Well, that's,
Well,
an
that's-
exception.
Those people have a disease. Let's not.
Well,
you
it's
know.
not a disease, but it is an exception to
It's not?
melanin. Yeah, it's just about
Albinism
melanin.
isn't like a an
No,
ailment?
Albinism.
it's not a disease.
I was attacked by an albino in high school.
Wow,
happened?
what
What'd you
is
do?
that? Is it a dog? Why are you saying a albino?
I said "and" because I know how to speak English.
Thank you. Now let me just make a.
Oh, that is the moral distinction we're making here. The difference between a and
I don't know what
I
that
told you
not
she
the
was drunk.
distinction.
Now, Elon.
What does that group call themselves?
Don't
I don't know.
discredit me.
An
Don't you
albino
dare
man.
discredit me, Dave.
Well, you're getting hung up on his correct grammar.
I'm getting hung up on the fact that I was saying, do you call someone an albino
Well,
rather
we're
than a
talking-
person who's albino?
Because it
That's the
sounds
don't
like
have
the
one day.
blacks versus African American.
It's like how you could say a person of color. I could say a person of no color.
Yes,
Sure,
exactly.
yeah,
you could
that's
say
it.
that.
Yeah,
that's
but
what you-
but okay, so the,
I'm
the
sorry.
language.
I'm assuming you were the only person less popular than the albino kid in high school. So go on with the story.
Okay, so we were in we were taking sophomore English was mythology, so we read a lot about Greek mythology, and there was this like final project where we were gonna all like pick a character and do some kind of act or something, and our teacher sent around a sign-up sheet of like who each one wanted to be, and this one kid who I knew from junior high, so we had like a rapport as like a history, whatever. I thought it'd be funny to like write his name down for him, and I wrote Athena, which is a female character. Ha ha ha! That's my joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, he got really pissed when the sign-up sheet got to him. He saw that. He said, "Who did this?" After class, he started strangling me. He was much larger than me. He took like karate and stuff, and
Right.
I
Wait,
had,
was
I had
he-
like marks on mine. It was like a serious
What
wait,
fight.
does
let
this
me
have
back
to
up,
do?
though.
I'm sorry. What
Was
does
he
this have to
Frankenstein?
do with what we're
He was
saying?
albino. That's all it has to do.
That's all it has
Right.
to
They,
Yeah,
we
that's it.
should know what they're capable of. Now you said he took karate, but he was
Wow.
strangling you. Was he Frankenstein
He
strangling
didn't
you like
use.
this?
Yeah, he didn't use any like actual karate moves because I'm so weak. It was very easy for him to just grab and
I gotta
squeeze.
say,
I think
his sensei would
somebody,
be very-
even with professional martial arts training, would just cast that aside and just use regular people strangling to strangle.
Right? Yeah.
you.
Why would you go? You don't have to go fancy when you can just
Yeah,
go
like he
basic.
could have been a martial artist, and I feel like he would have just chosen to
That-
be
well, then
chill
Right.
that's
about it.
two ways his sensei would have been very disappointed in him.
Well, martial arts is like a self-defense thing, right? So if I'd come at him, he could go hiya and like stop me. But I was
Right,
just a person,
right.
and he attacked me and
Classical hiya.
tried to kill me. The teacher
but
separated
he felt
us.
like you emotionally attacked him.
Yeah, and I feel bad about that.
you misgendered.
But as like this, I was always like the really small kid. I had to like be the class clown once in a while and be like,
Right,
"Oh, this will be
right,
funny,
right.
ha ha ha." And it was
like a power
he was the
move.
target because I knew him. That was so I
It's
feel
like
bad
maybe
about
I
that.
can get away with it because it's like within my.
well, you thought he's an albino.
Yeah, you
so
thought
It
the
had,
hierarchy
it had nothing
was
to do
like,
with that. It was just that
I can get away with this because he's different.
I could get away with it because I knew him already. Whereas if I picked some other one else in the class I didn't really know, they'd be like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
Now let me ask an honest
Right,
question.
right,
Yeah.
less
Were you friends
confrontational.
with him because you were the kind of kid who'd be friends with like the albino.
I was not friends with him
And the
before that. I just knew him. We
Oh.
went to the same junior high.
I
I
just
was
picture
that
you
kid.
Then
with-
why are you crediting knowing him?
I just
I
picture
knew
you
him. We had enough of a history where it was
Are
like,
you
you
saying
know.
that you were friends with no one, but you just knew
no,
one
I was
person?
I was like, you know how I do.
I just really picture you friends with like the kid in the wheelchair, the albino, and the Russian
I
kid who
was
doesn't
that
speak English.
kid. I was the
Yeah.
kid
I'm
that was
sorry.
friends with the Misfit Toys.
You grew up in New York, right?
Yeah.
So what school is this?
Oh, Stuyvesant High School?
Yeah, heard of
Ooh.
it. Heard of it. Actually, I went to their prom when I was 24.
Oh, yeah, that's creepy.
Ram in the cradle.
Were you the chaperone?
I like
or what?
it.
My best friend's little brother, who was significantly younger than him, who I always kind of like was friends with, mentored.
Yeah.
Sexually.
Sexually mentored, messaged me and asked me to be his date to the prom in whatever.
And then she touched his penis.
And then I touched his penis. No,
you?
but what I said to him, my reply was, "Hey, I love you. I've known him his whole life since he was a baby, but I would like you to try at least 3 more dates and fail before I say yes."
Wow.
Oh, yeah, so he pretended to ask 3 girls out and then went back to
And
you.
then came back to me with this pretending thing, and then I was like, "Hey," and I dressed up in an old bridesmaid. I was one of my bridesmaid outfits, and I didn't do my hair, and I looked as young as possible. And then I thought, because I was already over 21, that would be cool points. So I got in this limo with these kids, and I was like, "Hey kids, like I brought like a little handle, like not
Yeah.
a handle, like whatever you call the little thing. It
Yeah.
was like in my purse, and I was like."
You know what it's called.
And
You
I-
brought a flask
I
to
brought
the
a flask.
prom.
I brought a
You
flask.
have one tonight.
And I was just like, "Hey guys,"
Yeah.
and then I was like, and whatever you guys want. And he was so embarrassed because he was like, "Don't tell anyone that you're older than me. 'Cause I don't
Oh,
want
this
them
kid's
to,
an idiot.
I don't
Th-
want them
Yeah.
to know
By
that
the
I
way,
brought a fake date."
That explains why he had to settle for you. The fact that he didn't realize what an advantage it was that he had to settle for like his friend, his
And let me
brother's
just tell you
friend.
something, and Elon can speak to it. In Stuyvesant, if the listeners don't understand, is the only public school that's like the Harvard of public schools.
Right.
And so he was the nerd
Of the nerds.
in Stuyvesant.
So you were like a real coup, because like that's a hot date. You would,
I
24-year-old
played this
you.
all the way up. I mean, I was already a stand-up comedian at that point.
Yeah.
I like tried to play it down. I was as cute as I am, and I did a little dancing and made him like the center and made like other people dance around him.
Right.
Yeah, I rocked.
Was it at the Waldorf?
No, it was I don't know. It was at one of those.
One of the
fancy-
yeah.
Yeah.
My prom date just danced like a stripper, so that was weird.
Was she a stripper?
Not at the time.
Later.
A couple years later, though, she
my
fulfilled her
prom
destiny.
my prom date was 22 and was a birthday present. Cuz like my friends were like, "Oh, like what do you want for your
Stripper?
No, he wasn't a stripper. But like my friends were like, "What do you want for your birthday?" And I'm like, "I really just want a prom date." So then they're just like, "Oh, Friday night, come out to the pool hall cuz that's how we do it in Yonkers." So like
YO.
wow. So like I go to the pool hall and then she's like, "All right, pick a date." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then she's like, "All right. So I told my boyfriend that you needed a date and I needed to give you a birthday present. So he called all his boys out and told them all that you need a date."
Was she drunk when she said this?
No.
Okay.
Possibly. Hi. So then like she's just like, so they all came out, everybody that's like, "All right, we're going to a prom. So everybody here can be your date." And I'm just and it was just like
Wow.
literally the only
it's
girls
like The Bachelorette with no cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
It was like
that's so special.
and so like I went there and
Let's
so like
call her. I want her number, her address, just to thank her. Unlike the other guys.
she voted for Trump, so fuck her.
Oh fuck! I want her number and I want her fucking address.
I don't talk to her anymore. But like so like I literally talked to everybody and the guy that I picked was the one that was just like I didn't go to my prom and now that I'm older I regret it and I really want to
so
have
you
like
gave
a whole
him a gift.
Yeah.
You gave
And
him
then
a
he
little
broke
gift.
up with me on prom night. But that's another story entirely.
Yeah, he sounds like a journey.
He sounds like he's from Yonkers.
Yeah, because
But now I have a
You can talk
a
about some
little,
news.
Yeah,
let's talk about the
exactly.
news. Now,
Why don't you pivot, Dave?
I
I
do-
was going to pivot, but you
Well, we had been
steal
talking
my
about
thunder.
we'd been talking about Europe before in Italy, and I actually did want to talk about a little bit about the austerity stuff in France. How there's all these riots, there's the demonstrations, and the thing I wanted to talk about was the idea that like I don't want to fall into this trap where liberals think that liberalism is believing that no matter where you are or what your government is, you're not socialist enough. Because France is a place that already has a fairly socialist democracy. They're a place that already has fairly high taxes. They're a place that already has a lot of the protections that we demand in this country, the liberals do. So I don't, and having read about what's going on in France, I don't know if I'm convinced that this is a measure of a government not being left enough.
So I
is that
think
what they're saying though?
Well,
that doesn't sound like what they're
Well,
saying.
what they're saying
They're
is
saying
that they
the
want to
money is not allocated properly.
Well, they're saying that they think that the rich are not being taxed enough. So that is clearly a liberal idea. But the thing is, the tax they're talking about, are you guys familiar with the tax that they're referring to that they want to bring back in
Tell
France?
us.
Well, it's a wealth tax that Macron ended in 2017. Macron, president of France, liberal, but a mainstream liberal that people hate.
he's a cub.
That the people who are
Macron.
the people who are protesting
Yes,
are
cubs.
either far right or far left, but they're mostly not Macron's fans. They're not the people who voted for him. So they're demanding he resign, even though the majority that voted for him are not the ones demanding that, which is a little weird. It's almost like a mob mentality, saying even though we're a minority, we're loud and angry, so we want to change.
But
who's
I
in charge
mean,
of the
wouldn't that
government.
be kind of
but-
like if like all people that voted for Hillary were starting to protest against Trump and say that, like like we voted for Hillary,
Right,
but
it
you're
would
the
not be-
president.
It would not be a legitimate reason to say we demand you resign. Because if you're saying we didn't vote for you, but more people did, that's not enough to say, well, we demand
I
you
mean,
resign
our
'cause we're in the
electoral
streets.
college
But
used
that-
bought.
Well, that's
but
our
yeah.
country. That's
Yeah.
not what happened with France.
Right.
But the point is, let me explain what this tax that they're demanding be reinstated is in these riots and these protests. The tax was that anyone who had more than $1.3 million would
Okay.
get taxed on it. I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about wealth. So I'm saying if
in
you're
the bank.
in the bank, your jewelry,
Your total.
yeah, exactly.
Your property.
Your TV, your car,
well, your
your
property,
jewelry.
I mean,
Not just property, but I'm saying all property.
But-
Anything
but-
you own,
but
the government would appraise and say, we think you're worth blank amount, and we're going to tax you year over year on the same thing. Now, in America, we would say that's a tax that we would never really accept.
I disagree with
Well-
that just for the mere fact that if you
Disagree
like
with what?
Google like taxing the 1 so I've Googled myself before and there because I've
and
done
we
it.
all should.
We all
right
should.
now.
But like I've Googled myself
Marissa
before and it's like a website that like estimates my worth at like $2 million and I'm like, have you seen my bank account?
Well, those
Where'd you get this
Well,
from?
celebrity net worth is it's a fake algorithm. It literally just checks how many Google searches you have. It doesn't actually. It's not a real net worth. It's not like the government.
No, but I'm saying like what if they were like
they think
going
I'm rich
to like
too. Like it's not.
what if they were going to
New
tax
rich.
me based on
Oh, random
like
website?
I made
That's
a
not the
million.
issue.
I
That's-
made a
that-
million.
that's
I
changing the
spent a
subject.
million.
but like they like well this is your estimated like
right, but that
possible
website
worth.
isn't. I'm agreeing that it's weird,
But like I'm just saying like I
but
would
that
not
website is not actually investigating your worth. But the point is, most people would say, well, if you're talking about saying that if you happen to have one piece of property and you don't have an income, you're paying taxes on it year after year after year, and it's whittling down. That's why it was such an unpopular tax. The tax it got replaced with was a property tax. So they're saying instead of taxing you on all your worth every year, we're only going to tax you on worldwide property, but year over year. So you're still being taxed every year over and over again on the same thing without making more money on it. But the thing is, the fact that they're demanding
Oh,
that
that's what
tax come
property
back.
tax is.
Right. They're saying, but because property is something you make money on. So it makes sense.
No,
Property in general is
No.
something you make money on because it goes up in value.
no, it may not. in
Well,
many-
it can go down.
It
It
can.
Like property
Ver-
can
in-
depreciate.
In fact, it's one of the most vital of
yeah, volatile
assets.
assets.
Absolutely.
But the point is, there is still a property tax, a
Sure.
year-over-year property
and
tax.
every poor person pays
Yeah.
property tax. So
Right.
what's the point?
No,
What
no,
are
no.
you saying?
You're not. What I'm saying is the tax of taxing all your property, your jewelry, your clothes, everything,
That
was
was
replaced
with a
just
property.
taxing you for how much money you have in property year over year.
Which I don't think the amount of money you have
And
in
that-
jewelry, even though that's a way to hide your shit, I actually don't think that that's very fair because it
to tax
only
you for your jewelry.
but because it only creates a vacuum for people to lie. You
That
have to think about the way in which it actually functions. If I were to try to protect my assets, I can't protect my house. But I will say, my jewelry.
I get
it's
stolen.
got stolen.
The
Insurance
point-
fraud.
but the
I
point
went
is,
to a
that's
bar
exactly what these
and my watch was
Oh.
stolen.
But these
Everybody steals my
protests-
shit.
The protests are one of the main things they're demanding is to bring back that tax, where you're taxing people with 1.3 million for everything they own year over year.
Because jewelry
one of
has
the-
always been a way to hide your wealth.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
One of
Incongruent.
the
Sure,
things that I think
perhaps.
is interesting about this protest, though, is that the police are actually threatening to join in with the protesters
They're owed
because
so much money.
they
Ah.
are owed
Which I don't know much about.
There's like almost like 20 million hours worth of overtime
it gave
that
me a
the
little
police
hard on to see
Right.
that.
But let
that
me
have
ask-
not been
story.
paid
Now
for.
I get that the instinct of that is to be 100% positive, but let me ask you an
Oh
honest
no,
question.
I don't think it's 100% positive.
But I'm asking an honest question: Are we just assuming that this money exists to pay these people, and the government is just evilly keeping it from them, or is this really a case of people not being able to accept the world is changing and wanting it to be a person's fault?
I
So
think that
what are
if you have a
expecting-
contract with your government as a government employee, and
amount of
if
time that you
you
work.
work 40 hours, you get a salary, and if you work anything
100%.
over 40 hours, you get time and a half.
100%.
Yeah,
They need to have that in their budget that you
I'm not
get time
talking
and a
about the-
half.
They're
I'm not
not
talking about the
medieval
police.
soldiers.
I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about
You can't
the
just
entire population.
No, we're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, we just brought up the fact that the police are demanding.
that they get
Right.
paid their overtime because they're
So-
owed like
so
over
this is what
20
happens.
million
If
hours
the
of overtime.
police have to fight protesters 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for however many weeks.
This started on
And there's some
November the
issue.
15th.
Right.
Oh, there's some issue with pay, overtime, blah, 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 because the system is freaking out and they can't figure out how to pay given their fucking the current,
Nobody
bank of
works
wealth,
overtime.
and they can't figure out their
pay
shit.
because of the protests.
Right.
That's why the overtime
right.
existed.
But the protests are civilization. The protests are the country.
Right.
And the police are there to be there to protect and serve and to whatever they do.
Society from the
So-
protesters.
So let me say, if they are working overtime, which they have to,
Right. They have.
and if they're in strenuous conditions where
Sure.
they're being
which they are.
pummeled and no bathroom breaks and the employee bullshit along with the fact of like war conditions.
what I'm asking.
What I'm going to finish and say is that the government then has to decide that these employees, which I've made a civilized contract with, are doing overtime this amount of lot of hours. They need these amount of things. And so what I need to decide is how do I budget
to pay
this
them.
protest and
This
whether
is
or
a
not
contract.
Okay, well, can I?
no, because I'm not done. Whether or not the issue that's being protested is economically worth what's happening, and if you do not consider the police that need their overtime and need their humane allowed employee rights that was already agreed upon,
Because
then-
they're in unions.
because at the end of the day, all of these protests and all of these issues and all of these things boil down to brass tacks.
Mhm.
So the fact that police have to defend and spend economic, resources to defend this issue has to be then
paid for.
paid for. And if you don't think it should be paid for, then maybe the issue should be resolved economically.
Okay, the question I had was, what if it can't be? What if the protesters want something that is not mathematically
It's
viable?
a bipartisan issue. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but
No, I'm
you
asking
still.
I'm asking the question.
But
what
they
if the
don't have a contract with the protesters. They have a contract with the
I'm
police.
Not, I know, but I don't
They have
wanna
a
talk about the police.
union
I wanna
with
talk
the
about
police.
protests. I know, but I want to talk about the
But like,
protest.
police are gonna become protesters.
I know, but I want
So
to
what
ask a
you're-
question about the
what-
But
protest.
you're
it sounds-
doubling the protesters.
I know, but I want to ask a question about the protest, not the police part.
No, but what it sounds like your question is if they're not willing to give in to the issue,
What do you
No,
do next?
That's
then
not
what
the
do
question.
you do? Then what
Okay,
do you
so
do
what is
economically?
exactly your
You're
question?
saying they're
Dave?
not able to give in
What
to
if
the issue.
what if the protest is literally asking something that's impossible, and so they can't end the protest?
Why is it impossible?
But
why
like,
is
didn't
this
we
issue
already
impossible?
establish
That's
that
what I'm
the
asking.
that
But is it you think it's impossible?
But
I'm
here's
asking
the
if.
thing, though.
No,
so,
I'm asking
is it-
you if you think
so
it's
I'm
impossible.
asking
It might be.
everyone.
It
I'm
might
asking.
be.
I'm asking everyone. Is that if you said that this new tax law was put in place after Macron was elected, and so
Right.
this new tax law was put in place in 2017, but previously, let's say 2015, this new that tax law was already in place. So then, how is it not feasible that they can reinstate it when they
Because it's
already
not-
have?
Because there's a lot more things they're demanding. They're demanding increase in minimum wage. They're demanding things that may or may not be possible. But the question was, I was like, why can't we even acknowledge the idea that it's possible for someone to protest against something that they can't get? Why can't we even acknowledge
But
that?
they're
It's
the
very
French.
possible.
They
It
just
matters
cut
how
people's
possible.
heads
No,
off when they
I'm
don't get
sorry.
their
That's
shit.
what I was
Why-
asking.
But okay, well that's good, a good clarification because that feels like an obscene question for me because mostly people on any side of any issue protest something impossible that they never get met. So
But you
it's not
compromise.
but it's not impossible.
No, what I'm asking though is, it of course is. I'm not saying I know because I don't know the math of the French government
yeah.
and the economy. I think it's possible that they could be. Look, France has for many years been known as a place it's very easy to get people to protest. It's famous even among liberals as the place that a riot
we have
can
the
happen
Statue
any
of
moment.
Liberty because
Yeah, it's a place that's known for.
Vive la France.
But France is, especially the last few decades, has just been known as a place where a protest can happen at the drop of a hat. It can just they're easily
gorgeous at
they're
it.
easily inflamed people.
no,
Like,
well,
it could be a good
you would
thing.
say
It's all the
famously
cheese.
inflamed,
It could be a
or
good
you
thing.
would say,
It's
or
the
you would say
lactose
they're
from the
they're-
cheese.
I'm not
They're-
saying it's negative.
that
I'm
they're
saying,
liberal, and I don't mean that in a liberal conservative American way. I mean liberal as in free to express their opinion, and so that's a beautiful.
But what
thing.
I'm talking about is austerity measures that I think a lot of people see as a punishment by government, that government sees as something that's going to ensure survival. The same thing happened in Greece. People were angry in Greece about austerity measures that were 100% impossible to deny. They wanted the exact same benefits that they had before on a country that was beyond bankrupt. And some things are not possible. Sometimes we see things that it looks like a changing economy and simply a changing worldscape is something that people just want to
But
not
why
acknowledge and
as-
make it a politician's fault.
But
And it
like
has to
as
be
a
three-dimensional.
protester, if you're a man on the street and you've been working for 20 years, like you are paying your taxes, you are doing everything as a citizen that you're supposed to do.
Right.
Why is it your concern that all of a sudden the government realizes that they have been keeping shitty books for 20 years and then they can no longer
But you're
sustain
the
these
assumption-
things that they have claimed
That's
that you are entitled to?
That's exactly what I'm referring to. You're assuming that this cannot possibly be real. It has to be about bookkeeping. It has to be about someone made a mistake. And I'm saying it's possible that the changing economy has simply made it a world where people aren't
But
going
that
to
is
have as
not
much as they
the
have. But
agreement
you're
that the
saying this is a
government-
bookkeeping thing.
But
That's
how is-
exactly what
how
I'm
is
saying. that it's
every
not
aspect
always,
of the economy not a bookkeeping
thing.
issue.
because
Yeah.
a bookkeeping issue implies that if someone else was doing the books differently,
No.
so
this
the
wouldn't be a
government
problem.
wasn't stealing from their people.
Exactly. You're saying that it has to be a person who's making this happen, that it can't just be the confluence of factors of the changing economy and the changing world we live in. We have there are certain things that are changing just in terms of what's automated, what's not. Certain jobs exist and certain don't. So the idea that the only reason that people could be out of work is because some politician is doing something wrong, and not that we have a world where we're eventually going to have to just have universal income because jobs are going to go down in general because there's going to be less jobs to do. That's what I'm talking. That's the fallacy. I'm
Okay,
talking about.
Tesla.
I see
no.
what you're saying, but like, does that mean that in universal income, then we have to revert to a class system?
No, not doesn't have a universal income.
we
doesn't
already
mean
have a class system.
You don't need
Let's
to have
acknowledge
an
that.
enforced class system to have universal income. I'm talking about the long-term effects of the changing economy and technology. Eventually, there will be less and less manual labor work that can be done. And like in Star Trek, you're going to have to simply take care of the poor people and find new ways of having a
But that's
civilization.
already a class system because the people
that's-
that have
Yes.
abilities that can still work regular jobs are going to make over the allotted stipend that you're going to give to poor people that don't have any marketable skills.
Well, there's poor people in every class system now. It's not like we're going to eliminate.
yeah, but like we
this would
don't.
be a
We're
world where
not.
Poverty was no
we're
longer
not
something that killed
saying
you.
that like as a whole. Let's say okay, we have poor people that don't have marketable skills. They get welfare. They might get some food stamps or something like that if they sign up for it, and if they aren't too proud to sign up for it, because there's an inordinate amount of people that are due social nets that they don't actually take because they're too proud to take them. So like we're going to say that like we're going to give everybody a particular salary. However, if you have skills and things that are needed at this time, you're going to get your stipend and you're also going to get your salary.
Yeah, good. That's a great system.
Yeah, that's a good system.
That's a great system. Why are we even complaining about that?
Right now, if you have no
Elon.
skills,
That's a
then
much
you don't
better
have a
I wanna hear-
job.
That's
I
a
wanna hear what
substantially
Elon
better
has to say
system
about
than the one we
that.
have.
Go ahead, Elon. What do you have to say about
Yeah,
that?
I think a universal income is a good thing because right now the system you're talking about is people either
What does universal income look like? Because I've never heard that term.
So like let's just say hypothetically
I'm sorry, I
every
needed to know.
citizen of the United States gets $20,000 a
Fuck
year.
that. That's
We're talking
communism. Okay.
Well,
Exactly.
we're talking about a different level of technology. We're talking about a level of technology where you would have that's considered an inevitable point in our technological future if we make it to that, where there'll be substantially less jobs, but there'll be more of
but
an
we're
ability
not
to take care
there
of people.
yet. And currently, I need my legislators to make my life fucking better before I die in probably 20 years at the most.
Right, but
So the question is,
But that
what
was
am I
only-
fucking dealing with right now? We are in
A lack of resource-
apocalyptic
a change of resources. yes, that's
issues
what we're
right
talking
now.
about.
Okay, my great grandmother voted in hopes to make my life better. At this point, I'm at the point where I understand the full fucking world.
You're
that I'm
voting
just
to
trying
make your
to make
own
my
life
own
better.
life better, and the kids that I foster, who I know won't have parents, better.
Right.
Okay, so wait, I don't want to cut off Elon.
No, what I was saying was if the current situation today is either if you're poor, you're on welfare, or you're too proud to take it and you just make no money. Universal income in the future is like we have all this new wealth, but there's certain jobs that just don't exist anymore. Instead of getting this pittance, which is welfare or nothing, everybody gets a livable amount.
But how
if
is the
Considered
universe?
inevitable.
The
And you can
universal
and you
amount
work
is going to be a
towards-
pittance. The universal amount is going to be a pittance.
How do you
so
know
like
that?
like
Wait. What you don't? how
I
do you
know,
that?
but this is on a point. This
We're
is
talking
on a
about
real
the distant
point.
future.
This is what happens
That's-
when you
well-
travel and you go around the world. You are told, I get a zillion whatevers for this country
Lira.
for $1. Not
Right.
lira anymore. We're
Yeah.
far behind Europe. But lira, anyway.
lira is pretty bad now, but yeah.
The point is that you go to a different country and you say, I get a zillion of these
because of
denominations
inflation.
for my dollar. But what happens is you go to buy milk and it's a zillion plus 3 to buy milk, and then you realize that fucking that's how much I paid at home. Like your quality of life. So here's my real point. If you elevate everyone to a living salary, how does that change the prices of what's available to
We're
them?
talking about a
But
distant future. With
This
a
is
different
not
economy.
even. I don't even think it's
Then we're not-
living
you're-
I
salary.
want to live in
We're
Star
we're,
Trek.
We're not.
I'm currently
I
living
know,
in
but
a
that's-
place where I don't have rights as a woman, as a gay woman. I don't have any rights. So I'm looking
if-
for legislation based on like I need health insurance. My health insurance is about to end in February. I'm in survival mode.
Well,
And
yeah.
that's the unfortunate reality that we have to base our legislation on. It's why do we not have Medicaid for all? Why do we not have marriage equality? We do have marriage equality for all. Why is it still being fought?
It is?
It is.
Yeah.
In America?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, who are these assholes trying to fight it?
All right,
Republicans.
well, your listeners can probably give you some links.
That sucks. I mean, my point wasn't that. Well, I mean, I was, of course, in favor of taking care of poor people. That's universal
Yeah, but like,
income
here's
is,
the thing:
Of
is that like, let's
poor
say that
people?
if we go and we
Yeah,
say
of
that the
course.
minimum wage
We
is,
already
I'm
have
going to give a
Medicaid and Medicare.
hypothetical. If we say the minimum wage is $10 an hour, and we decide that everybody gets this minimum wage of $10
So what do
an
you want
hour.
instead of it? What would you want instead of that in this future where there aren't those jobs? Don't you want people to get taken
No,
care
what
of?
I would like is for the companies to behave as if they're not human, and legislatively to not be treated as if they are gold. What is corporate welfare, which is coming into Queens with Amazon? I would like corporate welfare, which is a phrase that needs to be spread, to be understood. We need to stop giving extra. Forget about like, you're gonna give extra. This is
You're
the-
going to bring 7,000
this is-
jobs
this
into
is-
the
this
neighborhood.
is the worry.
So like
the
now
worry
you
is,
get the tax
the worry
break.
is because you employ a bunch of people, you have no taxes. Walmart has no allowed federal taxes. That's in fucking sane.
Like, why should someone working in Walmart pay more percentage of their actual income than Walmart, the actual company, does?
The majority of Walmart employers are
On
on
welfare.
federal income,
and
so
they
they're
give them
feeding
the
off,
packets
and then the full and
to
Dave
actually
is-
get on welfare.
and
Okay,
Dave
but
is-
so you guys are
is
talking about
tuned out.
the problem is there's an unfair distribution of the wealth, right? The very wealthy companies or people control everything,
Right.
and everybody else has very little. In this distant future, it's a distribution of the wealth where
Yeah, but
it's
that's
much
not.
more equal to
That's not
people.
going to be equal. It's
No,
not.
until
It's
you
there's
have
going to be a
corporate-
baseline, and
until
then
you stop.
people that have particular skills are going to make more than that. And if it doesn't work that
Yeah,
way,
but
then
imagine
you're
that
talking about
baseline where you have
communism
all your
and-
health needs taken care of. You have money that you could live by.
But your
But, like,
ability
is-
to buy milk has gone up. Your ability. So if everyone has $20,000
In this future, cows don't exist.
okay, and they're farts.
And if they do, they get $20,000 a year. So it's a beautiful place.
But like
Elon's
$20,000
good on the
does
humor
absolutely nothing. But like
the
we're
point
gonna have
is
to start.
If everyone gets $20,000, everyone starts at zero. Do you? This is my only point. Is that if everyone has $20,000, milk will be 20,000. Like just
Maybe milk is just a right that everyone, you could just take your milk.
okay, oat milk, whatever.
Yeah, oat milk. That stuff's creamy. It's thick. It's
so,
not bad.
It's so good if you get it processed and add with cornstarch.
So Dave,
Mhm.
the
Who's
Trump
tuned out?
Foundation is being shut down. Why?
Shocking illegality, because in a normal society, this would be one of the worst scandals that would destroy anyone who ever met this person.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck.
And
Yeah.
but Trump, because it's baked in that they like corruption, it's just okay. So Trump, here's the thing, he was already doing this. Everyone knew he was doing this when he was running for president, and no one cared.
no
and now
one-
that the courts are acknowledging it, it's a story again. But he was taking money that people believed they were donating to a charity and then paying his debts with them, or buying things for himself that he liked, like paintings of himself, and putting it up in his own restaurants for free. This was the most simple example of a corrupt charity. Once again, say those words again. A corrupt charity that this
Well,
man
it
was
also
stealing
had
from.
Trump
and the
in the title.
repercussions of these violators, these criminals, these federal criminals, what are the repercussions?
They have to dissolve their charity with a court supervision.
and then
Well, by the way,
They can't
they
be on
wanted
the
to dissolve it
board for
themselves.
That's right,
10
Marissa.
years.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I recently read in the most recent
Well, the
report,
kids can't be on the
1
board
year.
for the kids can't be on the board for 1 year.
1
Our
year.
president-
They can't be on a board for 1 year.
It also,
But how
it
are
might
they
be
going to
harder
get
for
all
them
the
to get on one.
dividends?
It might be harder for them to get on one now that everyone's going to
I
think
want
we can't have
those
you on your
cuffs.
board because we're going to look like criminals. But yeah, it's hilarious that this is not because everything that he does would be the biggest story. But stealing from a charity really should be the kind of story that ends your career politically.
Yum, 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 yum. But we're way past that, and that's why we live in a place where we don't understand reality at all, and we kind of float
Because people believe in
above.
astrologists. Exactly.
And
You start believing in
fucking
conspiracies.
Susan Miller is the reason
that we're all centered.
fucked.
The crazy thing about all of this is that this is the Trump Foundation charity, right?
Right.
This huge lawsuit against them, all this bad publicity, and yet who gets away scot-free? Tiffany Trump.
Yep. Just because she doesn't
She's
love her,
not
doesn't let her
favored
do
enough to be on
Just
anything.
because she was never directly sexually molested by her dad.
She we don't
Or,
we
We
don't
don't know
or,
directly.
or,
We don't
or
know
she's
for a
not,
fact that he
she's not
touched
willing.
Eric.
She's not willing
Yeah.
We
to
don't know that
accept
Eric
it.
was
She's
touched.
not
She's
willing.
not hot enough
she's
for
not-
him to make it obvious.
She's not willing to accept.
I think I'll be perfectly honest. I think Barron's going to jail. I think everything is in Barron's name.
He's a child.
I think they
he's
put-
the same age as the kid I watched.
Knowing Trump and his
99
kids,
before.
I think they put everything in Barron's name.
No.
And
Barron
they're-
is legally an adult in Guatemala.
Yeah.
So,
No.
under
Barron
some
has-
laws.
No,
Barron
no,
is the
no.
CEO of 40 companies in the Cayman Islands right
You
now.
know, unfortunately,
to
what
go
I
under.
think happened within the first year and a half to almost 2 years of Trump's administration is we gave sympathy to Melania, and then finally she had a couple of moments of interview. And
I
then-
don't care, do you?
And after the I don't
She
care,
married Trump. Of course she's a monster.
right? But no, because we created this, and I think we played into what they wanted us to have as truth. We played into the idea that she was just an international bride who was looking for money and was a model and took an advantage to
I never
living.
gave her this pass.
She was in survival mode, and she really hates him. That, and I will tell you from experience, from memory, that's how the public played her for at least a year and a half. It was she's trapped.
Well, we project.
She doesn't really. We projected
project
it
our
all.
morality
we
onto
we
her.
want to think that she's a good enough person to feel
you
trapped.
see that when you see the writers and all these guys that we all know that write for the Colbert Report and write for the Daily Show and write for all that stuff. It was untouchable. It was like Trump's a moron, but we don't know much about Melania, and honestly, we can tell that
We did the
We
same thing
can't
with Ivanka.
understand what she's saying.
We projected morality onto Ivanka
Oh,
too,
and-
simply
and-
by
and-
being women who didn't say horrible things publicly. We thought, well, they must be better
Well,
just by having vaginas.
she had a gay
they
friend.
must be decent
no,
human
she
beings.
had a gay friend, and that's why Trump was for gays.
And to her credit, like I was a big watcher of The Apprentice all seasons, regular and celebrity.
Really?
And
Are
Ivanka
you
was
the only one within New York
it was
born and
it was
raised?
number one in the ratings in its first season, and after that I just disregarded it. She was very level-headed on The Apprentice.
Oh yeah.
Eric
Mm.
took a while to get started, and Donald Jr. also.
Ah.
They were not good for TV at
Don
first.
was a
Was there
mess.
sex on
They
that?
got better
Don
near
was
the
terrible.
end.
I just want to know, was there sex on that show? I never watched it.
No.
Was
No
there
sex appeal
between,
whatsoever.
No. Between the siblings, was there sex acts that happened? Because I feel like that's what that
Like
was.
deleted scenes.
You
Yeah.
gotta, you
Yeah.
gotta
They
stop serving
save
alcohol
all
at
of
these
that
shows.
for Papa.
Don't
So now,
stop
Elon,
Dave, I will pummel you.
I know.
Okay.
What's going on with nunchucks right now?
Well, I was gonna say the one thing about Trump is that this is actually true. I lost a lot of respect for my dad because he told me he loved Trump, and that was in 2006. I'm not even kidding. It really happened. The nunchucks thing. Yeah, nunchucks
I
are
asked
illegal again.
Elon.
Did you?
That's right. I brought
were
up this
looking at me.
story in our little group chat because I thought it would be a fun, lighthearted
Are
story.
we in a group chat?
Did you even check the group chat? You can see who
Well,
like reads it. I never saw your
She
face.
doesn't because she's on a text, and I think there was a couple of topics that I
Thank
forgot to
God.
forward
Thank
over.
God.
Because I forwarded as much as I could,
It
and
would
then
give
I,
me a skin rash
Oh,
if I was
is that why
on
Beth
group
is
text.
woefully unprepared?
Yeah, I guess I'm fucking.
just
So now what's going on with the
No,
nunchucks?
you're not.
Okay, so nunchucks have been outlawed in New York State to own since the 60s or 70s. I don't
like,
know.
Yeah,
70s,
like
yeah.
70s. Yeah, it's almost
They were
40
even
years.
illegal to be in movies in England. You couldn't even show a movie where someone was using them. That's how weird the 1970s hated nunchucks. Go on.
Yeah,
It's
'cause
wild. Anyway, this one guy who was like a nunchuck enthusiast, like became
that's
a
before
lawyer
Machine guns.
in the 90s and decided to he set up his whole life, it seems, towards
to fight this
eventually
nunchuck thing.
having a lawsuit against the state to say, hey, these should be legal. It's a self-defense item, just like anything else that's protected by the Second Amendment. And so why can't I just have nunchucks, even if it's in my own home or whatever?
Wouldn't it be hilarious if it turns out he doesn't know how to use them?
I really want to see a video of him doing
He's
his
never
thing.
actually
And
done
he
them.
just hits himself in the face the
No.
whole
He's
I
so-
just
time.
appreciate them.
He's so
No.
law-abiding that he never got to try them out for 30 years.
Yeah, that actually really.
He just assumed he'd be good at it.
It's the funniest thing that it's how could it be illegal? It's just two sticks with a rope in between them.
Okay, it's like weed enthusiasts who say like, I'm a weed enthusiast. There's a threshold to not want to come out as legalizing marijuana because you're admitting that you have experience with an illegal substance. So there's a threshold there where he's just like, nunchucks, never touch them.
Right.
But
It's
I bet they'd be good in my hand.
Yeah, it's almost like with like gay marriage. Like there are people who would be like, I don't want to come out and say I'm for that
Just
because
saying.
people will think, why do I?
I'm
secretly married,
just
right.
Yeah,
saying
why would
the
people
s-
think I
if
care
the
about this issue?
scissors fit.
Yeah, it's. No, it's. I never understood that weird. Like, in England, you couldn't. They banned Bruce Lee movies because there was nunchuck use. What is this obsession with nunchucks?
I
You're
think
allowed
they're
to
just
own knives.
anti-Asian.
All right, you
Yeah,
know
You're
is
what?
it
allowed
racist?
to own
I think it's
knives.
racist. I think it's like really anti-Asian.
No,
But
if that was the reason, I would applaud it, but it's not.
I have this great bit about nunchucks, which always gets groans because it's too disgusting.
Tell us about it.
No, I can't. It's too
I'm
gross.
so
But like,
excited.
it
No,
never
no.
works, and I feel like maybe the
I'll
band.
give you a left
on.
shoulder massage if you
Go
tell us.
on.
Yeah, do
All
it.
right. So anyway, the gist of it is that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wear different color bandanas because that's a thing in the gay community to wear different color like handkerchiefs to say what kind of gay stuff you're into.
Uh-huh.
That is a thing. And so,
I
for
never heard
example,
of it.
Michelangelo wears orange, which means anything goes, and he is the party dude.
Yeah, yeah.
So it fits,
That's
Is
true.
he into
And-
pizza the most?
of course, and that explains why his weapon is two wooden dildos attached by a chain.
Oh.
That
And
does
that's
make
why
sense.
the leader is named Splinter, because sometimes you have an accident.
Oh
Nice.
my
There you go.
So it's very gross, but I think
Oh, I applaud
logically it
that.
makes
No,
sense.
I'm into
But yeah,
that.
that was like an 80s, 90s
I just have
thing
to
where
say,
they wore
like,
bandanas different colors.
The
Yeah.
most disturbing thing about Splinter and the most accurate thing about your joke is that they don't buff down the edges. Like, make
Yes,
it
they-
round.
they-
Make it round.
They're
make
supposed
it
to.
round, it
Make
goes
it-
down easy.
Guys, we have
So-
got to get going.
I'm gonna throw one more topic in
Oh,
the
good.
gauntlet before we head out though. So, Dave, what is going on with the Russians and the Internet Research Agency?
Yeah, Dave, what's going
They-
on with that?
Well, we found out that a lot of people may have guessed they targeted specifically Black Americans, not just to get them to not like Hillary, but just in general to get them not. They weren't really trying to get them to vote for Trump. They were just trying to get them not
to vote at all.
But
yeah.
also, they were also trying to take advantage of Black people to make them appear scarier to white people. They were trying to make it sound as if every Black person who believes in Black Lives Matter is this militant, violent monster. So they really did concentrate specifically on the Black population because they felt that that was how they could inflame people. And it really, I just don't know, where is the fucking outrage?
Well, I will say this is that like I can't speak for everyone in my community, but I will say
Oh, I'm
that-
sorry. Marissa's black. Dave.
that's Dave's job. He's
Dave's-
supposed
Dave
to tell
We already
them.
said it this episode.
We said it last episode.
Or
But-
next episode.
I snuck it in.
But what I'm like most proud about is that like seriously like 90% of Black women still voted for Hillary. So like the Russians tried their best efforts. They spent a lot of money
And it only worked on men?
and
Well, you said 90% of Black women voted for Hillary. Of the ones who voted, the whole point was they suppressed the vote. So there were less. It wasn't a matter of getting them to vote for Trump. It was about getting them not to vote. And yes, Hillary had less Black people voting for her than anyone in decades. So it did work. It worked very well.
but I
Hillary
don't
had a lower-
necessarily
had
know
less
that
the Black
that
vote than any
I don't know that
Democrat
was a
in many,
Russian
many
thing
years.
as much as the fact that I feel that there were some Black people that felt like Hillary with the super predators.
That
and,
was
like-
from fucking Russians. That was part of the propaganda campaign. The idea that super predators started meeting Black people
there's
20
some
years
precedent.
later.
What happened there was precedent to that because the Clinton administration didn't do their job in the 90s. They were too fucking ball heavy and they couldn't shave their fucking balls, sack up and fucking make it for the community that supported them in Harlem, New York, and the black community and their saxophone fucking bullshit. And they sat there and were pieces of shit, and the Russians played on that to make sure that it happened. Because they played on decades worth of feeling like, I'll tell you one quick situation. I remember, so background, born and raised New Yorker, living in New York. We are during the Obama administration, I can't tell you what year. And I am walking
2008
down
to 2016.
Good. I appreciate
Don't
you.
assume.
I'm walking down 54th Street or some nonsense in the middle of Midtown. And I get some fucking security guard, some Secret Service person stopping me from walking down the street. And I'm like, fuck you. I have my feelings. And it turns out Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are walking from a building to their Uber or whatever the fuck. And there's a crowd that forms. And I remember this black guy, and this is before Obama was inaugurated. And it was this guy screams, "Our first black president," coming from a black guy. And that helped me frame. They played for the first time in American history the black community. He played the saxophone. She was liberal. They played on all that shit. And that's why I don't trust her.
Because
But-
this guy, wait, so this guy liking Bill made you hate them? This black guy saying, I identify with
No.
him, made you...
Is that what you took from what I just said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were
it's
saying
wrong.
that this guy calling him the first black president, which of course
No.
is a black man,
What I would
using
say,
a term of
as
endearment,
someone
not
who's
literal.
only 30-something, my experience of the Bill Clinton administration was from a child's perspective. And a person who was at least 15 years older than me referred to him as the first black president, which was a phrase
Yeah.
that I never experienced because I was too young.
Oh, okay.
And I learned that before there was ever Obama, there was the first black president, which was a phrase from the black community. Because he was
Bubba.
the first one to placate to that community. And they did a horrible job because of said... What are we
Super
talking about?
predators.
Super predators.
But-
And they had a chance within Hillary Clinton because she is amazing.
She could have
She's amazing.
redeemed everything.
I will talk about her. She's the most qualified, male or female,
that we've ever
Can't-
had running.
ever. But I
in the
still don't
history of
trust
the-
her.
yeah.
And they played off
You
the
just
fact.
said that she treated the black community like shit. Why do you love
That's right. I didn't say I love her. I said she's the most qualified that we've ever had. And that speaks to our history. I'll let that silence
I'd like to
simmer.
ask a question about
Please,
this issue.
yes, mhm.
Okay, so let's say, so the Russian agency is putting out all these memes and everything on Facebook, fake accounts, everything to rile up, whether it's the black community or white people against the black community,
Right.
right? Now, let's say they put out these memes that say, hey, Hillary Clinton in the 90s, the Clintons, they did all this, whatever, super predator,
Mhm.
yada, yada,
A little
yada.
Kevin Hart
It's something,
shit.
it's something she said once. Yes.
Right,
She
so she
used
said
the term
this.
super predator to refer to people who use children to commit crimes.
Or let's take
And then 20
another
years
point
later,
of view,
it
which
was
is
decided in a meme that it meant black people. Go on.
okay. So let's look at a
No,
different
it
aspect.
meant that then.
Based
Okay.
on what?
Based on exactly what it fucking meant. It meant that you were putting people in jail based on statistically what was not said then, but what was told, that you were to search any black man, any person that looks suspicious.
It was
that's
kind of
certain-
like a
take them
Stop
in.
and
three-search
frisk and
thing.
super predators are not related.
Oh my! This is a whole different.
But you're referring to stop and frisk now. I'm saying the term super
no,
predator was a term that was used
stop
at the
and
What
time.
she's
frisk.
saying is that in a Venn diagram, there's an overlap.
And stop and frisk is
And
only
when-
a
when
new
this-
age part of it. We're
side-
talking early
side-
90s.
Side note,
I'm
but
sorry.
Venn diagram is that Italian guy that you went out with in high
That was Vinny Diagramma.
Yeah,
Hey.
school. Okay, so let's look at something that's less controversial. Okay, so there are memes that will say pro, like the Black Lives Matter movement. The police are irresponsible and extra aggressive towards black people, and that's an issue in America. And these memes were started by Russia, a lot of them. They were shared by a lot of black people in America who didn't know that these were started by Russia. It was just, I agree with the point, right? So if you agree with the point, and now you find out, well, Russia actually originated that, are you like, is there a problem that you're sharing something where the messenger has bad motives, or are you still like, well,
you
but I
should
still
take
agree with
it
the
into
point?
consideration.
So, like, here's the thing with that is that all of the, because, like, I've read several articles about it. Not that I've read the most about it or I've done the most research. I'm going to admit that I haven't. But for, like, the ones that had the most imprints that they're talking about in all of these articles, I was never getting those memes or articles or whatever from black people. I was like kind of seeing like I guess the counter of those memes from white people. So like if you said like, "Oh, well, black people found the cure for cancer, but the government isn't letting them share it,"
Yeah.
then I would see a meme from like all of my like right friends that are like, black people are the reason why there's cancer and the government won't stop it because they'll ask for more welfare.
Which is a beautiful place to live in. It's actually a really hard thing to carry, but to live in a place of two worlds gives you perspective of the way people propaganda some bullshit. And so Dave and Marissa, who are the hosts of this show, send out to us, Elon and us, me.
Yeah, you're multiple
Yeah.
people.
I am sometimes.
we
I am
are.
gender fluid.
We're
so
all multiple people.
I'm gender fluid. But
She's Beth and Ben.
but what I would say is that there are some, and I will wrap it up. There are some ideas, and I've lost my thought because everyone signaled in this room some weird shit, and I just completely forgot.
So we're going to wrap it up. Before we go, Beth and Elon, just tell everybody where they can find you on social media, what gigs you have coming up next.
Okay.
Beth, I'll start with you.
Sure. Here it goes. If you're interested in like just loving people based on who they are, and you're not interested in arguing with me based on some nonsense, you can find me at either at We Choose Love on Instagram or at Summon the Goats on Instagram, and both of those and the secondary are where you can find my comedy. And the primary, is where you can find me just trying to spread a little bit of love in a very dark place.
Elon.
All right, you can find me on Instagram at Elonstagram. That's ELON Stagram, and I'm on Twitter at Elon You So Crazy. That's YOU So Crazy. People say you should have the same like social media handle for everything, but I don't care.
Not when you got
Fuck
gold like that to deal with.
It's so funny. How could I?
Fuck them!
Yeah. Also, if you're one of the British listeners who is turned on by the theme song, I'm going to be in England next week. You can see me at Angel Comedy on
Nice.
December 27th and at Camden Comedy Club on December 28th. And cheerio to you guys. So thank you.
Dave Cyrus.
Dave Cyrus, SARUS. You can look it up. It's all there.
You can follow me on Twitter at Marissa Smith. You can follow this show on Twitter at at Blamestorming. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review us. If you did not enjoy the show, we're cereal.
If you didn't enjoy the show, ignore this.
Ignore everything that I
If you
said.
liked it, put
Like-
your penis on it or vagina.
Put your comments on it like it was a penis or a vagina. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a happy New Year, guys. This is the last show
Happy.
of our year. So, we love you.
Forget the religious denomination and just love each other.
Review us if you like us. If you don't, then don't. Okay, bye.
Bye.
I also watched Drag Race.
I don't. I just like saying that.
But you know that's.
Is that from that officially?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I know it came from like the
Yeah.
community
You're
in some way.
You're definitely specific.
There wasn't a straight guy who was like, bye.
I think it was Alaska.
That's the name of the character?
I think Alaska's the one who started doing that first. She did the bye. It was, or wait, no. It wasn't. Fuck.
I thought it was like a Kardashian thing. I
No,
don't
no.
know.
It's not Alaska. It was someone else that I'm totally blanking on her name. But yeah, it was. Oh, Ivy Winters. Ivy Winters.
These are all names I don't know.
I mean, I've done DragCon and stuff. I did like interviews and stuff. So. And.
Do you do drag?
No. Only once.
So why are you connected